Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And joining me are Rayceen Pendarvis and Pulitzer Prize winning poet Jericho Brown for this special Team Rayceen Productions presentation. We will be back at the end of the program for a discussion with our guest. And now, without further ado, celebrating 2 years of the tradition, a look back at an evening with Jericho Brown.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you here to the Studio Theater. If you love me, my name is Rayceen Pendarvis. If you don't, my name is Omarosa. So, I am having Team Rayceen Presents. Put your hands together. Presents. An amazing evening with Jericho Brown, sponsored by our wonderful DC Homos. Jose is in the building. Our bookseller this evening is East City Books, so please remember to get a book. You can buy one for a friend. With tax is $18.02, so buy one for someone you just met outside. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, bringing to the stage the one, the only, the prophet, the author, the activist, the teacher, the preacher, but my brother, Jericho Brown.
There's this video, it was a whole TV special. It was like the Supremes' first TV special. I think even before they became Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Do you remember me on that?
Yeah, I remember.
I was so young.
Yeah, you looked really good.
Thank you, I was 9 months pregnant. That's why they put me out the group.
Never mind.
Go ahead, tell the story.
So, anyway, y'all can actually YouTube this. It was called TCB, Taking Care of Business. And the Supremes and the Temptations did the special together because Berry Gordy figured out if you really wanted to sell a bunch of something, you put two groups together who had, some similar audiences, but different audiences as well. And then you would have this big thing happen. So they had this TV show, and the Temptations come on, and they're singing Down. And one of the Temptations introduces Diana Ross, who's going to come on stage. And he's like, the delectable, the wonderful, the beautiful. And he's like saying all this stuff. And she's like tiptoeing on the stage little by little because it's taking so long. And by the time she gets to him, he says, what was your name again, girl? It's really funny because she's like Ross, Betsy Ross. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be an amazing evening. I'm so honored and so happy. You have been on a whirlwind tour.
Oh my God.
A whirlwind tour, an amazing tour. Yeah. So is this the first time you've experienced Jericho Brown? Yeah. Good, so you got a lot of versions of this.
Yeah.
So good.
Deep flower.
Deep flower. Be gentle. Be gentle.
Always. Ask for consent.
I want to go first.
Ask for consent.
It is wonderful. I like this. An amazing. I like this as such, because you can feel everyone.
I can see everybody.
You can't see them, but sometimes.
Well, I see the people in the front. I can't see the people.
I know. Some of them used to work. They do their best work in the dark.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just about to say, they sit back there so they could do something extra.
Yeah, so they can do something extra. They got to make a little extra change.
Yeah.
Remember, 15% goes to the house. We want to put your hands together for the Studio Theater for all right, yes, honey. You can't miss her, honey. Look at her. Fabulous, honey. You can't miss her, honey. Child. Yes, all right for the big girls. Yes, honey. Yes, be thick and fabulous, honey. Love yourself, because you are amazing.
That's Bridget. She's a poet.
Yeah, we got a lot of
She's
poets.
here all the way from Los Angeles.
All right.
She was one of my students this past weekend. Who's sitting next to her? I can't see. I really can't see because I can't see because of the lights.
Cassie.
That's Cassie.
That's Cassie, yeah.
Cassie lives was here. She was one of my students too. I taught this weekend for something called the Hurston Wright Foundation, which is a Black writers workshop. And I enjoyed many people who were here from very far away. They came to study poetry with me, including these two young people. So
Isn't that wonderful? Where was it held? At a historical?
It was at the Howard University Historical Campus. HBC. Yeah. I went to Dillard, so let's not go too far.
But that's wonderful. So people, this is what number for you for your book?
This is my third book.
Third book.
And the one I love writing the most. I loved writing this book.
So tell us about that. How did you get to that process of writing this book?
I think part of the reason why it happened is because at my job, I'm a college professor, we were hiring a fiction writer. And in order to hire a fiction writer, you have to read fiction. Well, as y'all know, that is one of the worst things to ever. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. But I had read so much poetry for so long, and I had to really break myself into the feeling of reading fiction because people were applying for this job and they would send their whole book. And I wanted to make the right decision for who was going to read this job. So I read something like 300.
I should have submitted mine.
There was 300 people that applied for this job.
Oh my God.
So you're reading these sample after sample after sample of like novels and short stories. And so at the end of the day, I really just wanted my poems. And so I was writing poems like crazy. I told you earlier, I wrote most of this book. It sort of happened to me and it scared me. I was texting my friends like something's wrong. You know how I wrote most of the book between Thanksgiving of 2017 and Martin Luther King Day of 2018. About half of the poems got written.
Almost like giving birth.
Yeah. And I could not stop. And it was so great and wonderful and exhilarating and exhausting. Because when a poem comes to you, when you get a line, you got to follow the line. So it would be like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm on my way to the restroom thinking I'm going to go back to sleep, but I would have a line. And I would want to deal with it. And
Did you write it on toilet paper?
I would write it in the notes of my iPhone, but then I would pull out the computer because it would be like not letting me go, And so I was doing that kind of thing that ended up being the book, The Tradition.
The Tradition.
Yeah.
How did that name come about?
The name came because I realized there's a poem called The Tradition, which is ultimately about many of the deaths that we were seeing played out in front of us through video on social media and on television. The last line of the poem is Eric Garner, John Crawford, Mike Brown. And so I was thinking about a lot of that stuff and about traditions in the United States that are really problematic. I was thinking about how we've normalized evil. I figured out that we were in a lot of trouble, not because we've decided that the world, that climate change should actually happen. We really actually decided that it's okay that the world would just catch fire. You know what I mean? But I realized we had a big problem when white people were breaking into high schools and killing white kids and nothing was being done about it. I was like, oh my God, this has become something that we're so used to that it can't even make the top of the news anymore. School shootings happen all the time, and they are boring to us.
It's sad. It's a travesty. I imagine, as a person who is over 50 and not quite 70.
Yeah.
But when I go to high schools now and I have to go through metal detectors, it is so foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
It is something I just cannot fathom.
Yeah.
And whenever I go there, I just be like, oh my God, where am I? Is this a high school?
Yeah.
And even in some elementary, you have to go through that. And it's a sign of the time.
Yeah.
But it's a sad sign. But the wonderful thing about that is when you get there and you meet all of these amazing students, they make that experience so gratified.
Yeah.
Because they're so open to experience.
Yeah.
And they're so open to hear what you have to say and be in the midst of this wonderful experience. I call it fellowship.
Yeah.
Whenever I sit with people, I call it fellowship. That's my way of getting to know you. And I talk about, for our fellowship, how we met. If we met. And
we didn't meet on no app.
We didn't meet on no app. I was waiting for the apps. No, actually, I was in the airport. And I was traveling and I was getting ready to host a cruise. And I was gathering all of the wonderful folks who we all met up in the airport. And we were just having a fellowship, laughing and just kikiing and just having a time. And I saw Jericho over in the airport watching us. And I knew he belonged to this tribe. I said, come to Wakanda. Please come, please come. And he came over and we just instantly clicked like that. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, it was so wonderful. And he was telling me, he was talking to me, and he was sharing, and we were just talking about his experience in life, and he was telling me he was a teacher. And I love teachers because they are the amazing, they are the keepers of the gate. Teachers, we trust you with our future. Yeah. And we instill so much in you, and you instill so much in our children, and you're underpaid.
Yeah.
Because you're underpaid and undervalued, and when you think about education as a whole, it breaks my heart because our teachers are so amazing. When first of all we turn our children over to you, and you teach them, which we teach them to be wonderful and fabulous, but you instill to them the importance of being great, and the importance of knowing your worth through education and through words, and how powerful words, like the old people say, words have the power of the tongue. And you teach them on a daily the importance of words.
That's my job. Well, you know, the other thing I think I teach my students is I teach them the power of words, but I also teach them to be patient with themselves. And what I hope to teach them is to have a certain kind of a different relationship to failure. My students, they come to me and they want to be poets, but it's like they want to be Whitney Houston singing I Will Always Love You after the first day. Do y'all know what I mean? And y'all have experienced this before. You want something so bad and it's like, why isn't it here now? Do you follow what I'm saying? Right. And so what I teach them is to take their time and be patient with themselves and to learn to enjoy the fact of failure, because anything you can't do now, you will be able to do if you keep practicing. And every book that I've written begins with a bunch of bad poems. It's not until I write a bunch of bad poems can I figure out how to write the poems I'm trying to write for that particular book. And anything you do well after having failed at it at first, right? If you drive a car, if we think about, many of you drive, this is DC, so everybody don't drive a car. I live in a place where almost everybody drives a car. But everybody doesn't drive a car here, but if you do drive a car, you can think back to the first time you tried to drive a car.
How about that?
And you were not good at it, but you didn't stop. You didn't give it up. And now when y'all drive a car while you're putting on your makeup, you're talking on the phone. Do you know what I mean? Closing business deals, sending emails, changing the radio station. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot to be said for how things become when we don't give up on them. So.
And that's important. I'm a professional passenger. But I'm a professional passenger with a license.
Passenger?
Yes, with a license. With a license.
You like to be driven?
Oh, I do. I love to be driven. I'm driving Miss Daisy. And I love it. I sit right in the front seat. I bring the music. I bring the chips. I bring everything. I'm the best. Yeah. And I tell them where to go. Turn left. No, turn right. You passed it. Back up. But, and it's just so funny when you say that and all those funny anecdotes. And I look at you and I just think to watch you grow through your journey and to be such a humbling spirit. When I was talking to some younger people, and I talked to you about this early, when we talk about poets, and I told him earlier about to listen to folks from my age group talk about Maya Angelou and Audre Lorde and James Baldwin and poets that inspired them and writers, to hear this generation talk about Jericho Brown as that the door has been open and you stand on the shoulders of all of these people. And to hear these young people say, oh, Rayceen, you have a Jericho Brown, I hope I can make it. Or I want to come, or just to see the light click on in their eyes. And then they say, oh, I read his book. And I was like, which one do you read? You know, and what poem did you like? And to hear that and to see that glimmer and that excitement about poetry. You know, and then we talked about poems earlier, about poems, and we were, you know, talking, and I was sharing him about how my mother would wake all, I had 5 brothers, and my mother would never call our name. She always, in the morning when she woke us up, she recited poetry. Each one of us had a poem, and she would recite it, and that knew that it was time for you to get up. And when she went into the second time, she recited that when you were officially late. So it was, and she instilled the power of words.
And your poem was a Lexi Hughes poem.
Yes, it was. In the morning, Liza, Liza, bless the Lord. Don't you know the days are born? You better listen here, you lazy scamp. You better get out this bed before there's trouble in this here camp. And I remember that. That was like years ago. But I remember that line, and it's a longer poem, but it's such a powerful poem. But then when it spoke like in dialect, of a very southern dialect. And my mother was speaking, and I wouldn't move until she recited the second time. But I wouldn't. I was like, girl, you gotta give me the second time. You know, so, but words are so powerful. And reading is so instrumental, you know, and we come from an era of, you know, when we went to the library and we did homework and we had encyclopedias. Now you guys got Kindles and all iPads and iPhones and y'all everything. So when I see artists pull out their phone, we used to pull out our notepad and our book. And I still, as a writer, I write in the black and white journal.
Really?
And then I go to the computer. And I still like to write in the book, in the old notebook, and then I go to the computer. It's something about seeing them on paper.
Coming out of your hand.
Oh my God, coming out of my hand. And I love that. But I don't, unfortunately, I'd like to do more poems. I feel like, and of course I'm the queen of the shameless plug, on Wednesday, July 3rd, the Ask Rayceen show is our annual poetry slam, sponsored by DC Ho-Hos. And it's free at HRC. All of you are invited. Bam, get yourself. So, and we have that annually, and what I love about that, we bring poets all together, and we share, and there are no judges. The audience picks the winner. And it's amazing to see and hear and meet these poets, and to be in a space that you can uplift them. And talking about spaces where we uplift them, you're going to be part of Outright. 2019. Tell us about that.
I'm really excited about it. There'll be panels. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff. And when I come, it's in August. And when I come, I think I'll see you again, right?
I'll be back. Yes, you'll see me.
Yeah.
You'll see me again.
I'll see you again.
Yeah. As for candy, please have your credit card available. Yes, you'll see me again. I'll be a part of the Outright. That is a free, wonderful festival celebrating authors, writers, and poets at the DC Center, located in the Reeves Center at 14th and U Street Northwest. Please go to Outright 2019 on all forms of social media to find out more about that wonderful free event. And the great thing about living in cities such as Washington, D.C., things like this are free. Free, the greatest word in the English language. Free. I love it. And, you know, and it's amazing that here you are, you've been on this. How many cities have you been to so far?
Oh my God. 52? I stopped counting. I didn't even count. I mean, I knew it was getting crazy when I was in Omaha. I was like, Omaha?
You know that's
But it was, I went from Omaha, I've been to Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, I was in a lot of parts of the Midwest. I was in Iowa City, I was in Des Moines, I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, I was in Omaha. I did a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, I've never even been, I went to Traverse City in like upstate Michigan. Did y'all know Michigan had an upstate?
I didn't know they had black people.
Well, I was there.
You were there.
I was there, yeah. So I went to Vegas, I went to LA, I'm in DC.
The nation's capital.
Yeah, I'm going to New York day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be in Baltimore.
You are doing it. I think it's why you are on your grind, baby. I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment. I feel like a hook in church. I'm having a senior moment. But I am, child. You know, they come, honey. If those who don't know what hot flashes are, if you live long enough, you will have them. It's a wonderful experience. It welcomes you into being part of the AARP group. So it's an amazing experience.
I like your fan.
Thank you. I'm celebrating my pride. 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of, Queen of Shameless Plug, you can get this fan at DC Homos. But I know, I love a fan. And my good girlfriend, the fabulous author and comedian, she's here. I think her name is Beverly White. She's the queen of a fan. And I think she's somewhere in the midst of the building somewhere. She's everywhere, but she's in the midst. Mm-hmm. In the midst. Yes, she's in the midst. That should be the name of my book. She's in the midst.
Oh, she's in the midst.
She's in the midst. Oh, wouldn't that be fabulous for a book? Yeah. She's in the midst. Of what?
I like that.
I like that too. Don't steal it.
You just thought of that.
You don't think on my feet.
You got to catch me too. I will steal a line from you.
But that's all right. That's good. It's good too. I steal a lot, and I always give credit where credit's due to everything that I take from everybody else. I do. I credit like Bam. I got that from my good friend Yarday Noir. So I always give him that one. I do Bam. So everything. And but we always talk about as other people who inspire you. So many people inspire me. Who inspires you?
Lately, I'm really inspired by my granddad, who I never knew. He was. It's so funny how you can know something about somebody your whole life, and the meaning of that only really makes sense to you after you're a certain age. My grandfather, my mother's father, on both sides of my family, my grandparents were sharecroppers. My mother's father figured out a way to get out from under that system, and he bought his own land, his own farm. He grew cotton. He had his family working that land. He had 13 kids, and he sent half of them to college, which I don't even know how he knew what college was. Do y'all know what I'm saying? And by that, what I mean is none of the white people that they had worked for before then were sending their children to college, So he's somebody I think about all the time recently. These are things that I always knew about him. And somehow or another, they only recently, the gravity of them only recently has come to me, And he was the person that I was thinking about when I was writing this book. Because somebody like that was thinking about me before I was even born. He had a plan for me. He had a plan for an idea. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of what the book is about. It's about me and readers being able to stand and reclaim the traditions that we're in. I'm a Black writer. I'm a Southern writer. I'm a queer writer. I'm an American poet. Do you know what I mean? And many more. There are many more traditions I feel like I stand in. And I don't feel any of those things at 12%. I'm not 10% Black and 20% queer. I don't do that to myself. And other people would like to do that to me, But everything I am 100%. I'm a 100% poet. Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel it.
So for me, the book in many ways looks at all of those traditions, including the pastoral. When I started writing the book, it was really just about flowers, right? I wanted to talk about the fact that I too enjoy a pretty yard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
I love the picture with the flowers as your headpiece.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love that. How did that come about?
It was actually. It's so funny. I almost said this, it sounds awful. So my photographer, isn't that crazy? My photographer. So a good friend of mine who's also a photographer, whenever he's doing something or making new things for his portfolio, he'll use me to do that. And he was like, when he found out about the book coming out, he was like, oh, this is great. We should do reenactments of each of the book covers. And I'm like, this is so smart. I wish I would have thought of that. So it was his idea. His name is Brian Krylios, by the way. And if you're on Instagram, you can get to him. If you go to my page, you can get to him pretty easily because he takes really great pictures. And so he made the flower crown. He came the night before and picked out my shirt. And then we went to this beach and we took pictures. It was great, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
there's a wonderful story.
If any of you know the cover of the New Testament, it's a painting. It's actually a 19th century French painting by Leon Bonnat. And the painting is called The Barber of Suez, and there's somebody leaning over, there's a barber leaning over someone who looks really young, I will say a boy, who's sitting down. And the picture is really tender, but also really danger. There seems a lot of danger and vulnerability at the same time going on in the picture. And so we did that, and he was like, if we do this, we gotta have a man to be the barber. And I said, I know just the man. So I found the barber, and it was just really great. So it was like the real fun picture. Then I got
it's
to have
powerful.
Yeah.
It's a powerful picture. I love it. I mean, I just love you, and you know, you are every bit of eye candy.
Oh, really?
Yes, every bit.
Oh, thank you so much.
Every bit of eye candy. I mean, you're like a triple threat. You're fine. You're smart.
Thank you. What else is the third one?
You know, and you're fine. You're smart.
I have a job.
You have a job, and you're employed, and you got and fourth good credit.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's like you're a BMW black man working.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're amazing.
Thank
you're
you
just
so much.
I mean, you're
Thank
just
you.
so amazing. But what I love most about you is when people meet you, you're so inviting. You and invite everyone into your space. You're very lovable. You can feel that. You know, you come up first of all as folks who come up to writers or folks that they admire. Sometimes you're scared to approach people because you feel like they're gonna go to Hollywood on you. But you put out this energy. It's like, oh, come. You know, and it's so wonderful to do that, and it's so important. And it just leads up to the segue that I'm going to turn this over because I'm going to let you do some reading.
Oh, I'm going to read a poem.
Yes, you're going to read a couple poems from your book. Yeah. I think they came to see all of you, to experience
I can't do
all of you, to feel the essence of you. So I want them to see you, feel you, experience you.
I mean,
all
you just have to
of you.
read poems, right?
Yeah. But didn't you like the way that sounded?
I hadn't done that other stuff on the stage in a long time.
That's when you were working your way through school.
Yeah, I was trying to get out of school. Education is expensive.
Yes,
You gotta do
it
what
is.
you gotta do.
Yes, it is. That's why I hope they eliminate student loans. Wouldn't that be great? I should run for president. That could be my motto. How to get rid of your student loans? Yeah.
You would win.
I would win.
Yeah.
They would instantly. Everybody on both sides, all sides would vote for me.
Yeah.
Eliminate student debt.
Student debt.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
But I believe it's coming. I pray in my lifetime I will see it. But in this, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, what you came here for, the one, the only, Mr. Jericho Brown.
I have to have a microphone because when I read poems, I start whispering. Isn't that interesting? Like, why do you start whispering, Jericho? I picked some poems to read to y'all, and some of you have heard them before. Oh, wait, I forgot something. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Stay right there. Okay, I'm back. I really just had my braces in my mouth and I had to take them out. I didn't want y'all to be grossed out with all the saliva. Anytime. So I'm gonna try to tell y'all a story, and it'll be my life story, and I hope I don't leave anything out. All right? And then I think there'll be a chance. Can I answer questions once I'm done?
Yeah.
I think there'll be a chance for me to answer questions. Y'all ready? Prayer of the Backhanded. Not the palm, not the pear tree switch, not the broomstick, nor the closest extension cord, not his braided belt, but God. Bless the back of my daddy's hand, which, holding nothing tightly against me and not wrapped in leather, eliminated the air between itself and my cheek. Make full this dimpled cheek unworthy of its unfisted print, and forgive my forgetting the love of a hand hungry for reflex, a hand that took no thought of its target, like hail from a blind sky, involuntary, fast, but brutal in its bruising. Father, I bear the bridge of what might have been a broken nose. I lift to you what was a busted lip. Bless the boy who believes his best beatings lack intention, the mark of the beast. Bring back to life the son who glories in the sin of immediacy, calling it love. God, save the man whose arm, like an angel's invisible wing, may fly backward in fury, whether or not his son stands near. Help me hold in place my blazing jaw as I think to say, excuse me. And y'all are snapping on you. Labor. I spent what light Saturday sent sweating, and I learned to cuss, cutting grass for women kind enough to say they couldn't tell the damn difference between their mowed lawns and their vacuumed carpets just before handing over a $5 bill rolled tighter than a joint and asking me in to change a few light bulbs. I called those women old because they wouldn't move out of a chair without my help or walk without a hand at the base of their backs. I called them old, and they must have been. They're all dead now, dead and in the earth I once tended. The loneliest people have the earth to love, and not one friend their own age. Only mothers to baby them, and big sisters to boss them around. Women you want to please, and pray for the chance to say please too. I don't do that kind of work anymore. My job is to look at the childhood I hated and say, I once had something to do with my hands. Foreday in the morning. My mother grew morning glories that spilled onto the walkway toward her porch because she was a woman with land who showed as much by giving it color. She told me I could have whatever I worked for. That means she was an American. But she'd say it was because she believed in God. I am ashamed of America and confounded by God. I thank God for my citizenship in spite of the timer set on my life to write these words. I love my mother. I love black women who plant flowers as sheepish as their sons. By the time the blooms unfurl themselves for a few hours of light, the women who tend them are already at work. Blue, I'll never know who started the lie that we are lazy, but I'd love to wake that bastard up at 4:30 in the morning, toss him in a truck, and drive him under God past every bus stop in America to see all those black folk waiting to go work for whatever they want. A house, a boy to keep the lawn cut, some color in the yard. My God, we leave things green. I wrote this next poem after finding out about the very long list of people who have supposedly committed suicide while in police custody. They include people like Jesus Huerta in North Carolina. Jesus Huerta was arrested and somehow or another on the walk from the police cruiser from the police cruiser to the building where he was to be booked, after having been patted down, and in spite of the fact that he was handcuffed, he managed to shoot himself in the back corner of his head. Or Victor White III in Louisiana, who, in spite of having been patted down, in spite of being handcuffed, while sitting in the back of a police cruiser, somehow managed to shoot himself in the upper back. Or Sandra Bland in Texas, who, after a day of fighting for her life, in a cell, hang herself with a trash bag. In a cell where there's video footage up until the moment that the coroner says she hang herself with the trash bag. The camera goes out, and we're told that something went wrong with the camera at just that moment. Bullet points. I will not shoot myself in the head, and I will not shoot myself in the back, and I will not hang myself with a trash bag, and if I do, I promise you, I will not do it in a police car while handcuffed, or in the jail cell of a town I only know the name of, because I have to drive through it to get home. Yes, I may be at risk, but I promise you, I trust the maggots who live beneath the floorboards of my house to do what they must to any carcass, more than I trust an officer of the law of the land to shut my eyes like a man of God might, or to cover me with a sheet so clean my mother could have used it to tuck me in. When I kill me, I will do it the same way most Americans do. I promise you, cigarette smoke, or a piece of meat on which I choke, or so broke I freeze in one of these winters we keep calling worst. I promise if you hear of me dead anywhere near a cop, then that cop killed me. He took me from us and left my body, which is, no matter what we've been taught, greater than the settlement a city can pay a mother to stop crying, and more beautiful than the new bullet fished from the folds of my brain. I have found a poem. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Romans 12:1. I will begin with the body in the year of our Lord, porous and wet, love-racked and willing. In my 23rd year, a certain obsession overtook my body, or I should say, I let a man touch me until I bled, until my blood met his hunger, and so was changed, was given a new name, as is the practice among my people, who are several and whole, holy and acceptable. On the whole, hurt by me, they will not call me brother. Hear me coming, and they cross their legs, as men are wont to hate women, as women are taught to hate themselves. They hate a woman they smell in me. Every muscle of her body clenched in fits beneath men heavy as heaven. My body, dear, dying, sacrifice, desirous as I will be, black as I am. Host. We want pictures of everything below your waist, and we want pictures of your waist. We can't talk right now, but we will text you into coitus. All thumbs, all bi-coastal and discreet and masculine and muscular. No whites, everybody atop. We got a career to think about. No face, we got kids to remember. No one over 29, no one under 30. Our exes hurt us into hurting them. Disease-free, no drugs. We like to get high with the right person. You got a girl? Bring your boy. We visiting. Room at the W. Name's D. Name's J. We DJ. We Trey. We Troy. We Q. We not sending a face. Where should we go tonight? You coming through? Please. Know what a Jew looks like. Not much time. No strings. No place. No face. Be clean. We haven't met anyone here yet. Why is it so hard to make friends? No gangs. You still coming through? Latinos only. Blacks will do. We can take one right now. Send it to you. Text it to you. Be there next week. Be there in June. We not a phone person. We can host, but we won't meet without a recent pic and a real name and the sound of your deepest voice. I'll just read a few more poems. I'll read some love poems. Can I read you some love poems? Yeah. Is that okay? I think that, I could be wrong about that. It's so funny, I just came back from Germany, and before that, I was here. I was in Germany for a week, and before that I was here for a week in the United States, and then before that I was in Spain for a week. And I noticed when you're in Europe, you can tell who's together, but in the United States, you can't tell if people are together. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like they stand next to each other, but they don't really be close. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm gonna read y'all some love poems in case there's some couples out there, and in case y'all wanna, find somebody to be coupled with later tonight. Maybe I'll inspire you. You never know. Tonight could be finally. So is that all right? I can read you some love poems, right? Yeah. Remember, you say yes. Your body made heavy with gin. I can relax. I smell liquor on your breath. Soon your arms will be too heavy to lift, and I'll watch the weight of you shiver while you sleep. But first, I want to see that stagger, like a boy sent off to battle, shot, then sent back. I kept one once. He'd never get a good doze, only quake and dream of hands aimed at his throat. He'd cough and gag. I'd shake him awake. He was as you are. He could have died in my bed. He could have never stopped dreaming. He'd take me for the enemy. We'd fight, but you and I won't fight tonight. I'll remember some limping lover and talk all I want about war. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I don't care who survives. I only need to watch your body made heavy with gin as I hold you up from your fall at the threshold, because I love you, and I love you best with liquor on your breath, when I can get a good look at you, just the way I found you, reeking and too drunk to go after the roaches with the heel of your hand, and too drunk to take me for one of the roaches. Y'all are the best. Why I cannot leave you. You bring home the food. I'm your hungry man. Captive damsel dragged by the hair from her favorite street light to the trap of your tower. Hollow icebox. No magnets with things to do. No rules. It wouldn't be fair. You bring home the food. You can't read or write. I pace, check the window for my hunter. You bring home food and toss it onto the card table. My teeth barely miss my fingertips. I rip into the bag. You like to kiss me. My mouth packed with the fastest franchise you could find. Animal blood at each lip. Say carnivore, and I kiss back. I eat my meat rare. You bear your sharpest grin. Bum, I say I love. You're my place to stay. We're against the law. No one keeps me big as you. Fatten me, sweet ogre. Get me some meat. Bring home food. Feed. Like father, my father's embrace is tighter now that he knows he is not the only man in my life. He whispers, "Remember when?" and "I love you," as he holds my hand, hungry for a discussion of Bible scriptures over breakfast. He pours cups of coffee I can't stop spilling. My father's embrace is firm and warm now that he knows. He begs forgiveness for anything he may have done to make me turn to abomination as he watches my eggs scrambled soft. Yolk runs all over the plate. A rubber band binds the morning paper. My father's embrace tightens. Grits stiffen. I hug back like a little boy, gripping to prove his handshake. Daddy squeezes me close, but I cannot feel his heartbeat, and he cannot hear mine. There is too much flesh between us, two men in love. So I'm going to finish with this poem. I said this the other night, and it's true. I love poetry more than anything. I really feel like it saved my life. The only thing I can think of that I love more, there's one thing I love more than poetry, and it's cuddling. So for a long time, I've been trying to write a poem about cuddling because I really wanted to bring the two things that I love most together. So here's my poem about cuddling. I'm very excited about it. Stand. Peace on this planet. or guns glowing hot. We lay there together as if we were getting something done. It felt like planting a garden or planning a meal for people who still need feeding. All that touching, or barely touching, not saying much, not adding anything. The cushion of it, the skin, and occasional sigh, all seemed like work worth mastering. I'm sure somebody died while we made love. Somebody killed, somebody black. I thought then of holding you as a political act. I may as well have held myself. We didn't stand for one thought, didn't do a damn thing. And though you left me, I'm glad we didn't. Thank y'all so much.
You were, oh, Chris.
They're just practicing.
All right.
They're just practicing. They're rehearsing.
They were hers.
Yeah.
You were amazing.
Thank you.
Give him another round of applause. Is it on?
No, it's on.
It's on now.
It's on?
Sorry, I'm just doing this on eyesight.
Come on, Sight.
A
You're
setup.
behind the pole.
Okay, I was behind the pole.
Bring the lights up.
So we can see people. Tonight was sponsored by DC Homos. Our community partners were the Gay Professional Men of Color. Our DJ was DJ Green Cab. Venue, we thank the Studio Theater. Our event producer is Czar. A special thanks to Team Rayceen and our volunteers, Nikki and Jeff and Lady Chocolate, for just making everything going so smoothly. Our official photographer is Jeff in the back, and our videographer is Jeff. He's an amazing guy. Follow him. Talk to him. He's available for bar mitzvahs, sweet 16, everything. So it's just a wonderful thing. So you're going to be doing some signing out front. I'm just so honored to share this moment with you and to be here and to showcase your greatness and to be in your light and just say thank you. Thank you from all of us. We thank you for being here and thank you all. So we're going to take a few questions. So I got time for about, yes.
I guess I'll just talk out.
Can you talk out?
Yeah.
Right, Mike.
No, it's all good.
Here, take mine.
Thank you.
Can you do that thing in my mic too? Oh, nothing. I'm listening.
So, artists are always shaped by the moment that they're in, and I think that this is like every time, this is a challenging entry point to be an artist, especially a poet. And I was just wondering what you thought were the unique challenges as a poet in this moment right now, and maybe even the benefits, as you see fit. Just kind of let you kind of go as you feel on that.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing about being a poet for me really is just translating to people in social situations what I do. I think it's very difficult for folk to understand that this is a life and therefore a lifestyle, and that it's to be taken seriously. You tell people you're a poet and they think you're playing it, like you're not real. But I mean this thing. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's my existence, and everything else sort of twirls around. Like I've created a life that allows me to be an artist, right? And sometimes you come in contact with folk who are not interested in that, or they think you're joking, or, it's really hard to date, actually. When somebody sends you WYD and you say reading, that seems offensive. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you don't want, well, obviously you got time then. Do you know what I mean? And then if they send you WYD and you say reading, and then 4 hours pass, and they send you WYD again and you say reading, then you lying. But the truth is, I can do that for 4 hours. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think just translating and trying to get people to understand that my work is real work, and it's not anything that I just do because I fell out the bed. I have to practice it and I have to get it together and have it ready. That's the hardest thing. The benefit is, for me, the benefit is really, I don't even know how to explain to you what it feels like. If anybody's ever made anything and it's not about what happens after it's made. It's the feeling you have making it. Do you know what I'm saying? The feeling you have. When I have a poem and I'm really in the midst of writing a poem, I feel like I'm completely permeable and yet totally focused. And there's nothing in the world like it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
how about that? That's what Whitney Houston says at the end of Why Does It Hurt So Bad? How about that? Hi.
Hi.
Hey Danielle.
Wow, I'm loud too. As someone who likes to challenge myself with forms and things, I really need to know, like, what was the inspiration behind the insanity that is the duplex?
Yeah, it's hard work. So
Yeah.
I was thinking about the duplex as a form. There's a form I invented that's a part of this book called the duplex. And it's really taken off, and it makes me so happy that people know about it and people are writing them and getting them published and having a hard time with them. But I wanted to make a form that was, as I was saying when I was sitting there, I wanted to make a form that was whole in all of its identities and yet carried several identities. That's really important to me. And so just the same way that I'm several identities in one body, several subjectivities in one body, and I live them all whole, I wanted a form that was a blues poem, a sonnet, and a hustle, all at the same time. And I really wanted to conquer time and space in the form. Like, I wanted to be as recent as the blues and as far away and ancient as the hustle. You know what I mean? So that's how it came to be, me trying to figure out how to make the thing that I am into a form that is in a poem. And I love the old repeated line. You get that repeated line and it's like, whoa, it's magic, right? I love that, yeah.
I love the way you sparkle like most poets.
Thank you.
But you have an extra sparkle. So I want to know, for me, my first poem I ever wrote will always remain special. Do you remember your first poem and what inspired you to write it? And
I don't.
if you do, can you tell me the title?
I don't remember my first poem, because I was writing poems like anything that rhymed, I would call it a poem and give it to my mom, and she would put it on the refrigerator. You know, and this actually kept me out of trouble. Once I figured out what rhyme was, my mama was always in soprano. My baby wrote a what? I was like, wow, I had no idea you could get that high. You know, and so I was always doing that just to get my mom's face to do that and hear that voice, you know. The oldest poem in my first book is a poem called Detailing the Nape. And it's a poem, and it was 7 years old before my book even came out, just to let y'all know how long things take. And it's a poem that I read once at an open mic in New Orleans, and afterward, the person I found out was Terrence Hayes came up to me. I was very young, and he came up to me. He said, he and his wife, his then wife, Yona Harvey, a poet I love, Terrence Hayes, Yona Harvey, great poets. They walked up to me and they said, they had just moved to New Orleans where I was living at the time, and they said, so where the poets be at? Where the poets at? What the poets be doing here? And it was the best thing that could ever happen to me because they were saying that to me, because Terrence and Yona, who were poets, like as far as I was concerned, they were the real poets. Because they were asking, they didn't know me, and because I had read Detailing the Nape, they thought that meant I knew where the poets were, which meant I was a poet. And there was this moment of identification that I had never had before. So I remember that poem really well because of that. Yeah.
How about that? That's amazing. So let's just love on you a little bit more. I want to just do a group shot with you. So those who want to come out and take a picture, come on, let's do a group shot.
Everybody.
Come on, everybody. We invite
this
you
is
all.
so exciting.
Come on. Invite you all.
And we're gonna sing Reach Out.
Welcome back, everyone. Rayceen, as we just saw, you were the host of this event. What was something people may not know about that evening from watching the video?
Well, they might not know how warm and inviting Jericho is. He makes you feel as if you're always in his living room, full of love, joy, and peace.
I love that. I love that. That's good. And Jericho, how was your first experience with Team Rayceen Productions?
I had a lot of fun. Given the conversations that I've had with Rayceen, I expected more nudity, but while I close on, we made a day that I don't think I'll ever be able to forget. We did a lot that day, and I'll never forget it. And I really appreciate her and all of you, the whole team. I appreciate Rayceen and the whole team. Y'all.
Thank
And
you.
we love having you again.
Yes.
Again.
And over and over again. I love it. I love it. And we thank all of you for joining us and thank the viewers for watching. To hear more about Jericho Brown and what he's been doing since the release of The Tradition in 2019, receiving the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 2020, and what he's up to now, please watch Celebrating 2 Years of The Tradition, the Jericho Brown interview. You can find the link in the description. Thanks, everyone.